Have you ever woken up and felt like you had already failed the day before it even began? Not just tired, not just sleepy, but weary, as if your soul had aged 10 years overnight. You sit at the edge of your bed. The room is silent, but it feels loud. Your phone lights up, messages, deadlines, expectations, and still no one is yelling at you. No one is chasing you. No one is pointing a gun to your head. But something invisible is. Something heavy, something ancient, something internal. This isn't ordinary exhaustion. This is a deeper illness, one that Carl Jung might have called a fracture between your persona and yourself. Because this mask, this smiling, productive, high-achieving version of you, it's not who you are. It's who you've been forced to become. And now you're haunted by a question you don't know how to ask: who am I beneath all of this? Let me offer you a shocking truth. You are not burned out from doing too much. You are burned out from doing the wrong things for too long, while pretending to be someone you are not. What you call productivity may be the most acceptable form of self-abandonment in our time. And what the world praises as success is often nothing more than a well-decorated prison cell. Jung warned us the greatest danger is not that we wear masks, but that we forget we're wearing them. The modern world does not chain your body, it whispers to your mind. It tells you that you are free, that you can become anyone. But in that whisper is a threat. If you do not become someone, then you are no one. The persona becomes your shield, but over time, it becomes your cage. And that's why you feel this way. Not because you're weak, but because you are divided. Because there is a war inside you between the image you perform and the truth you suppress. Your shadow, the parts of you that feel doubt, scream, collapse, has been banished for the sake of appearing fine. But that shadow does not die. It festers. It speaks in symptoms: anxiety, fatigue, numbness, despair. So let's begin. Not with another tip, not with more advice, but with something revolutionary: the truth. You are not the problem. You are the symptom of a society addicted to masks and terrified of authenticity. You move through your day like a ghost, wearing a costume, performing tasks, smiling politely, saying, "I'm fine," when asked, all, while something inside you whispers, "This isn't me." But that whisper is drowned out by louder voices, voices that aren't really yours. They belong to the internalized critics, the collective expectations, the invisible jury that sits in your mind and judges every moment you choose to rest, reflect, or simply be. Carl Jung called this the tyranny of the persona, a psychological mask forged to meet the demands of the outer world. It protects you, yes, but it also separates you from your own soul. And every time you say yes when you mean no, every time you force a smile while suffocating inside, you feed that mask and bury yourself. Burnout isn't just an overuse of energy. It's a starvation of essence. You are not just tired from working. You are tired from hiding, from silencing the self to maintain the mask, from replacing truth with performance, from being applauded for betraying your deepest needs. You are rewarded for your self-abandonment, promoted for your self-betrayal. And the world calls this success. But let me ask you something Jung would have asked. What is the cost of becoming what others expect if it means losing who you are? The ego loves control. It craves certainty, clarity, identity. But the self is wild, ancient, messy. It lives not in performance, but in presence. Not in answers, but in questions. And the longer you ignore it, the louder it cries. Not through words, but through symptoms, insomnia, irritability, emptiness, existential dread. You start to feel as though you're living around your life instead of inside it. like watching yourself on a screen, nodding, laughing, working, but none of it feels real anymore. That is not depression. That is not laziness. That is your soul knocking on the door you closed years ago. And yet we run from that door. We scroll. We consume. We optimize. We read self-help books that turn rest into productivity hacks. Even meditation is now a way to perform better, not to be more human. But Jung taught that what you resist not only persists, it grows stronger. Your suppressed self waits like a shadow behind the curtain, and it does not disappear. It watches, it waits. And one day, it breaks through, not as enlightenment, but as collapse. So let's go deeper. Not into the world's noise, but into your silence. Not toward achievement, but toward integration. Because until you face the parts of you you've hidden, you will never feel whole. And until you reclaim your right to stop, to feel, to not perform, you will mistake exhaustion for failure and numbness for peace. Let's talk about the silence you keep avoiding. The kind that creeps in when you finally close your laptop, when the last notification fades, when the room grows still, and the only thing left is you naked without distractions, without applause. And in that moment, something stirs, a discomfort, a restlessness, an ache that has no name. That's not boredom. That's not laziness. That is your shadow calling. Jung described the shadow as everything we refuse to see in ourselves. The parts labeled unproductive, too emotional, too weak, too slow. But what if those rejected parts are the most honest fragments of who you are? What if burnout is not the problem but the messenger? What if it's not a sign of failure, but a symptom of fragmentation? You see, our culture worships the persona, the curated image, the hustle. We build temples to success but have no rituals for grief. We have strategies for growth but no language for stillness. We chase improvement like a drug, mistaking motion for meaning. And when we collapse, we're told to recover faster, push harder, smile more. But here's the paradox. The more you run from your shadow, the more power it gains. It starts as whispers, fatigue, doubt, emptiness. But if ignored, it becomes screams, panic attacks, meltdowns, emotional shutdown. Because your soul was never meant to be outsourced to a schedule. Your humanity was never built to be monetized. Jung believed that healing begins when we turn toward the darkness, not away from it. He called this process individuation, the journey of integrating all parts of yourself, especially the ones you've exiled. It's not about becoming better. It's about becoming whole. And wholeness isn't found in ambition. It's found in contradiction. It's when your light and your dark, your strength and your softness, your action and your stillness learn how to coexist. That's where authenticity lives. Not in perfection, but in integration. So let me ask you again, when was the last time you allowed yourself to feel without rushing to fix it, to rest, without turning it into recovery, to simply exist, without performing for anyone, not even yourself? The truth is, most people don't burn out from working too hard. They burn out from living out of alignment, from chasing someone else's dream, from carrying a version of themselves that feels heavy every single day. And eventually, that weight becomes unbearable. Not because you're not strong enough, but because you were never meant to carry it alone. You were meant to be, not just to do. You were meant to feel, not just to function. But somewhere along the way, we traded soul for schedule presence, for productivity depth, for data. And we forgot how to breathe without tracking it, how to feel without managing it, how to rest without earning it. But now in the stillness, something ancient awakens. It does not speak in language, it breathes in sensation. A heaviness in your chest, a subtle resistance in your gut, a trembling under the surface of your calm. This is the forgotten self, the one you left behind to survive, to succeed, to be accepted. And it has been waiting, not for your success, not for your achievement, but for your presence. Carl Jung would say that this forgotten part of you never disappeared. It only went underground into the unconscious. And now as you begin to slow down, it rises like mist from the forest floor, soft, quiet, persistent. It doesn't demand anything from you. It only wants to be seen, to be allowed, to belong. This is where true healing begins, not with performance, but with permission. The permission to be messy, to be unsure, to be lost, to be human. Because healing is not a straight line, it's a spiral. You will come back to the same wounds again and again, each time deeper, each time gentler. This is not regression, it's a return, a sacred remembering. And in this remembering, you may start to notice the lies you've been told. That rest is laziness. That uncertainty is weakness. That sadness must be medicated. That if you're not constantly improving, you're falling behind. But what if the opposite is true? What if pausing is power? What if stillness is strength? What if feeling lost is the first step home? We live in a culture that rewards surface and punishes depth. But Jung warned us people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. And that's what most of modern life is, a carefully choreographed avoidance. You scroll to avoid silence. You work to avoid inadequacy. You plan your future to avoid feeling how lost you are right now. But the soul is patient. It will wait for you behind the burnout, beyond the panic, beneath the numbness. And one day, maybe today, you will have no choice but to stop. Not because you're weak, but because your soul refuses to be silenced any longer. It will speak in ways you cannot ignore: fatigue, that sleep cannot fix sadness, that joy cannot touch a hollow ache, that success cannot soothe. These are not problems. They are invitations. Invitations to slow down, to listen, to feel, to question everything you were told about what matters. And that's the moment you stop living someone else's life and begin your own. You are not here to be a machine. You are not here to be a brand. You are not here to be consumed. You are here to remember what it feels like to exist without justification. What it means to be a soul with skin, not a cog with credentials. And yet even now, part of you resists this truth. It whispers, "But I can't stop, not yet, not now." You feel the grip of guilt like a hand at your throat. You hear the voices, faint, familiar, internalized. Don't waste time. Be productive. Keep going. These are not your thoughts. They are the echoes of a culture that fears stillness, because in stillness, we see too much. Carl Jung knew this terror. The terror of facing the self, the full spectrum of who you are when no one is watching. The terror of realizing that the life you built might not be your own. That your goals, your grind, your identity may be fragments of inherited dreams, shaped by approval, fear, and survival. And that to reclaim your true self, you will have to unbuild what the world calls you. This is not easy work. It is dismantling. It is grief. It is peeling away the layers of performance, success, and ego until you stand there naked, wondering, what if I am nothing beneath it all? And yet that is where the miracle begins. Because in that terrifying emptiness, something ancient moves, something real. Something that was never gone, only buried. The self does not shout. It whispers in dreams. It stirs in sorrow. It visits you through longing. It is not interested in who you think you should be. It wants to show you who you truly are. And here's the hardest part: you won't find that truth in books or podcasts or endless journaling rituals. You'll find it in the void, in the gap between everything you thought you wanted and everything that no longer satisfies, in the ache that won't be silenced, in the moment you stop pretending that everything's fine and finally ask, what am I really doing here? If that question has entered your bones, then you're already on the path Jung called individuation, the path of leaving behind collective conditioning and entering the sacred territory of the self. It is not a path for the faint-hearted. It does not reward you with applause. It will cost you your illusions, your masks, your false peace. But what it offers is infinitely more valuable wholeness. And wholeness doesn't mean healing everything. It means embracing everything. It means meeting your shadow and not flinching. It means touching your rage and not moralizing it. It means letting your sadness exist without demanding that it justify itself. In wholeness, nothing is wasted. Nothing is shameful. Nothing is exiled. You become vast enough to hold it all. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are awakening, slowly, painfully, beautifully. And in a world obsessed with speed, slowness is rebellion. In a world addicted to noise, your silence is sacred. In a society that measures worth in output, your being is enough. Now ask yourself, when did I begin to confuse being alive with being useful? Was it when your joy became something to monetize? When your rest became a tool for better performance? When your presence in a room was only validated if it was productive? Somewhere along the way, we stopped being people and started becoming projects. Life became a spreadsheet. We became case studies. And the soul became inconvenient. But Jung would remind us the soul is not interested in usefulness. It is interested in truth. It thrives in mystery, dwells in depth, and awakens only when we stop managing our existence like a brand. And that is why you're exhausted. Not because you're doing too much, but because you're not doing what matters. You've been trained to optimize every second, but you were never taught how to simply be. And what's worse, we glorify this sickness. We celebrate overachievers. We envy the sleepless. We romanticize burnout with hashtags and hustle culture mantras. But beneath the filters and highlight reels, an entire generation is collapsing under the weight of their personas. Behind every polished morning routine video, there is a hidden ache. Why do I still feel empty? The truth is, no amount of breathwork will fix a life that is built on self-rejection. No mindset hack will heal a soul that's been denied its shadow. No morning affirmation will make up for a reality where you're forced to smile while slowly falling apart. Jung saw this long ago. He warned us if we do not confront what is unconscious, it will rule our lives, and we will call it fate. So if you feel trapped in your routine, if you feel numb in your success, if you feel lost in your own skin, don't look outside. Don't download another app. Don't buy another course. Look within and prepare to meet the one person you've been running from all along yourself. And here's the radical truth, maybe the most radical of all: you don't have to earn your existence. Not through hustle, not through healing, not through performance. Your worth was never something to be achieved. It is something to be remembered. So sit with your sadness, hold your anger, breathe with your confusion. Let the silence become your teacher again. It will be awkward. It will be uncomfortable. It will feel like nothing is happening. But in that nothing, everything begins. And slowly, the noise begins to fade. The guilt begins to loosen. The need to perform begins to dissolve. You are not lazy. You are not failing. You are unlearning the conditions of a sick society and re-entering the sacred terrain of your own soul. So if you've made it this far, something inside you is already shifting. Not loud, not dramatic, but real. Like a crack in the mask. Like a breath that actually reaches your lungs. Like the first moment in years where you feel the quiet and don't panic. This is what Jung meant when he spoke of transformation. Not a leap, not a breakthrough, but a subtle descent into yourself. Because the greatest journey is not outward, it's inward. The longest road is not the one that leads to achievement, but the one that returns you to the parts of you you exiled to be accepted. That quiet child who felt too much, that angry teenager who refused to conform, that tired adult who wonders if this is really all there is. They are all still inside you, waiting not to be fixed, but to be heard. And maybe now for the first time you're listening. And if you are, then let this be your first act of rebellion. Do nothing. Yes, nothing. Let the machine run without you. Let the world spin a day without your constant correction. Let the emails wait. Let the notifications pile up. Let your worth be uncalculated, if only for a moment, and feel what rises. The guilt, the fear, the resistance, and then beneath all of that, the freedom. You are not the sum of your goals. You are not your inbox. You are not your follower. Count your title, your performance. You are a soul, a psyche, a mystery unfolding. And mysteries do not rush. They do not explain themselves. They do not apologize for taking up space. So here's what I want to ask you. What have you forgotten that used to make you feel alive? What part of you is still buried beneath performance? And what would truly happen if you let that part breathe? Carl Jung believed that the world would not be saved by systems or ideologies, but by individuals brave enough to face their own darkness. Because when you do something miraculous happens, you stop projecting your war onto the world. You stop demanding from others what you have not given yourself. You stop repeating the story of pain in louder and louder ways, and you begin a new story. One rooted in stillness, in integration, in truth. Not the kind of truth you post, but the kind that makes you weep, that softens you, that reminds you that you are already enough even if you never do one more thing. So I'll leave you with this. If the mask you wear is killing you slowly, who are you beneath it? Tell me in the comments. Tell me what part of this resonated with you. Because in sharing, we remember we're not alone. And healing, real healing, begins not in isolation, but in reflection. Thank you for watching. And if your soul stirred even a little, watch the next video. You owe yourself that much.